Hello, I'm Super Orange Cat. Here I'm today covering Toonami's ratings from this past Saturday night, June 11th, 2022. Let's start at the top of the block. At the top of the block, we have Primal at a .17. The Assassination Classroom waves its last goodbye at a .13. Loop on the third, part 6 at a .08. One Piece at a .09, followed by another episode at a .08. Naruto at a .07. Shenmue at a .05. And Attack on Titan at a .03. Ultimately, this is an interesting week to cover. Top of the block, things look fine. Primal holds the same numbers it had last week. The high number we had last week, that of .17. And right then and there, it looks like we're set up for another great week. And then you have the last episode of Assassination Classroom with the same number I had last week. A number I pointed out last week I had a little trouble with because it was a bit of a bleed out. 400s dropped from Primal to a .13. But ultimately, Assassination Classroom did climb towards the end of its run thanks to Primal. So not the worst thing. But what I want to point out is what happens after that. Right after that, you have Loop on the third, which had a .11 last week, fall to a .08. And this is like an interesting step down week to week here, which I thought was really interesting because there's no reason for this to happen. Like, there's nothing really that fundamentally I think changed with any of these shows, but the shows following it too also dropped like 200-300ths of a point. And then you have like Attack on Titan drop 400ths to barely getting 100,000 total viewers. Really, I'm kind of surprised how that happened. And at the same time, though, and you look to next week. Next week, like I mentioned, Assassination Classroom waves its last goodbye. It's off the block, probably forever. And now we have Primal. Primal, as I note, it mentioned, I think a couple weeks ago, it was announced that Primal Season 2 will be airing in late July on Thursdays, which again waves off the theory that we're getting Primal Season 2 as a debut on Toonami. So we're not going to have the debut of Primal episodes on Toonami. And then after that, you have Assassination Classroom being gone, and we're taking a very minimalistic approach to the schedule where we just simply shift Loop on the third up one, the 2 episodes of One Piece up one, Naruto up one spot, with the spot that Naruto being currently occupies with have another episode of Naruto, so it'll be 2 episodes of Naruto, and then we'll finish the rerun hour of Shenmue and Attack on Titan, which on paper is a weaker schedule. But again, we've hit this point where we're not going to do much outside of a great leadoff, and Primal's as good as a leadoff we've got right now at that .17. And I mean, if Loop on the third is getting a .08 here, it's going to tick up a little when it gets a bit of a better slot next week. But Loop on the third has never been necessarily a draw for Toonami. Like, remember, part 5, after like a couple weeks, immediately got sent to the end of the block at like 3:30, where it was airing new episodes at 3:30. It's a show that definitely has its rave acclaim. It's classic, but not necessarily one with the largest fan base. And we're starting to see that here as that's a show that really started the bleed out this week. And if I had to say a loser for this week, it would probably be Loop on the third, part 6. And we've got that for another 15 to 20 weeks or so. And again, it'll be interesting to see if we get an updated schedule any week now, which, I mean, you can argue getting a double up of One Piece and a double up of Shippuden is a temporary schedule because they can't possibly do that. But at the same time, I could see them doing that as a cost saving measure. Again, I've mentioned all of the shenanigans with Warner Brothers Discovery, which got even worse with like their czar of children's animation making that comment about girls graduating out of animation. And that's another thing I could point out. It was an infamous quote a couple years ago where Jason DeMarco said that girls were watching Toonami more than boys, which I at the time pointed out using numbers from Showbuzz Daily that that was a false statement. But interestingly enough, that's actually come true. And it's not necessarily that I think that girls are flocking to the block, it's that boys are leaving the block faster than the girls are. We've hit a period where definitely Assassination Classroom had more female viewers than male viewers. And ultimately, it'd be interesting to see what they take with that. And again, if something like Sailor Moon comes available or something, that would not be a bad show to put in the block. Look, we're already going for nostalgia bait with One Piece episodes of One Piece that aired years ago, that existed years ago. So these aren't brand new episodes. Naruto Shippuden, which has been over for years now, because again they've moved on. Viz Media is now doing Boruto, which we're not going to ever get, by the way, because it's too expensive. To say because of low ratings, we're not getting Boruto because it's too expensive. That's the reason why we're not going to get that. And I mean, we already have shows that can be seen as nostalgic. You can even make an argument something like Shenmue, since it's based on an older game franchise, could qualify as nostalgia, even though it's a relatively new animated show. Shenmue, I'm expecting any day now, or any week now, I guess, to get an announcement we're getting a season 2, considering how well Shenmue did at the top of the block. So ultimately, again, I think that's the way forward for Toonami, is to kind of be nostalgia bait. Maybe try to get Sailor Moon, maybe get Yu Yu Hakusho, see if you can't possibly get that on the block, or other long runners, older shows. Like I said, when Naruto Shippuden ends in like 2024, think about getting the original Naruto, presuming Toonami exists at that point. But again, what do you guys think? Leave your opinions, leave your comments down below. I'm the Super Orange Cat, and that is all.